Hello and welcome to the Prime Sports Network. This is CJ Radune of RotoWire.com here for your Formula One update. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our motorsports videos all season long, including NASCAR, IndyCar, and of course, while you're here, Formula One. You can access my columns by clicking the link provided in the description of the video. And if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to let me know what is on your mind. So coming up this week is the Formula One MSC Cruises Belgian Grand Prix. I think the sponsor is apt for this because after this race, the Formula One circus goes on holiday. So maybe some of them will actually be going on MSC cruises while they figure out how to catch Max Verstappen. So anyway, last week, just a week ago, we were at Hungary and it was all the Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing show yet again. It was set up to be a challenge for the status quo and Verstappen, but man, that Red Bull driver's strength is just way too much for everybody to overcome, and he absolutely blew the field away. Lewis Hamilton narrowly edged out Verstappen in qualifying. He grabbed pole by just a few thousandths of a second. So that gave everybody hope that maybe in the race, somebody would actually be able to take the fight to Verstappen. But once the lights went out, it was all Max. He made it an absolute snoozer. He led every single lap. He took the fastest lap point, and he won Red Bull's record-breaking 12th consecutive race. This domination from this team, it does not look like it's going to even be close to letting up, and certainly not this week as we go to Belgium. As predicted, last week at Hungary, Lewis Hamilton and the two McLaren cars did seem to be the closest to Verstappen, though. He being Max, ended up winning by over 30 seconds. At this point, these guys have just got to wait for a mistake from him or some kind of failure, a crash, maybe a mechanical issue, something to happen to this Red Bull that has looked absolutely bulletproof with Max Verstappen behind the wheel. If any of these other cars want to end up stealing a race win this season, it is a very real possibility that we can get to the end of the year and Red Bull may have won every single race. So in a very boring race, in a very predictable race, what was the biggest surprise? It's going to be Red Bull. It's got to be Sergio Perez, though. So yet again, a terrible qualifying. He crashed out in the wet practice, and that forced the team to be on the back foot. They had to repair his car as a result of that. He didn't get as much time on track on Friday, and I think that put him behind for Saturday for qualifying. He ended up qualifying 9th. But look what he did in the race. He raced his way all the way up to 3rd to be on the podium, but couldn't catch Lando Norris, who finished 2nd in the McLaren. So I think everybody, including Perez, is just wondering what might be possible if he actually was able to qualify well. I mean, at this point with that car, given what Max Verstappen's been doing, Sergio should be a comfortable 2nd with a wide margin back to the rest of the field every single week. In order to get there, he's got to improve his qualifying. So we're going to have to watch him very closely this weekend to see what he's able to do in Belgium. It's going to be interesting. So that is this week's race. As I said, the MSC Belgian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at those odds. Any predictions? Any surprises? Absolutely not. They're all Red Bull and Max Verstappen. So once again, Verstappen and Red Bull, they're the theme of this weekend. It's going to be tough to make any kind of money when certain domination seems to be the trend. Belgium's typically tricky weather, though, could spring a challenge. You know, Max is always good in the wet. There's often wet at Spa here in Belgium, but that could throw some unexpected twists and turns into the weekend. There is a chance of rain throughout, especially on Friday. And that's key to this week in particular, because Belgium is another sprint weekend, which means with the upgrades that are coming to the cars that the teams are bringing, trying to squeeze in before they go on their summer break, they're only going to have one session on Friday to suss those out and figure out what their best setups are going to be for Saturday and Sunday. Once they're done with that first practice, it's over. They can't touch it. And if that first practice is in the wet, then they've got a lot of unknowns that they're going to be walking into for the race weekend. So it seems like this is a big challenge for all of the teams. In addition to just figuring out, how their cars are going to work best at the circuit, they're going to be dealing with the weather. They're going to have to be dealing with those upgrades. It all kind of pulls together to make you look again at Red Bull and Verstappen. They just have everything so buttoned up. They know exactly what they're doing. They're so well rehearsed. It seems like regardless of what gets thrown at them this weekend, they're going to be the ones that come out on top. And as you can see in the odds there, the winning team and the winner, Max Verstappen and Red Bull, are certainly there. One other bit of news that people are going to have to keep in mind for this weekend's race is that Max Verstappen did change his gearbox. So with that comes a 5-place grid penalty. So even if he qualifies on pole here on Friday, is actually determining the pole for Sunday, or the starting grid for Sunday's race, even if Max gets that top spot, that means he's going to start 5 places further back as a result of that engine, or that gearbox change, excuse me. So, he does have the odds stacked against him more so than they have been in the past, but those odds are so steeply in his favor that even if you stack them against him, it seems like just a formality that he's going to topple them back over and come back out on top. So if you're going to choose anybody else besides Verstappen this week, maybe your choice ends up being Sergio Perez, if he can actually get his act together in qualifying and get himself up there. As a long shot, though, outside of the Red Bull drivers, you're going to want to look at Hamilton and Lando Norris. McLaren right now is the real deal. It's been 3 or 4 races in a row where they've been extremely fast and been able to turn that into podiums. And they could quite possibly at this point be the fastest car behind Red Bull on the grid. So watch out for Lando Norris. And then obviously Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton always continue to be strong. And they have fantastic strategy, which can really play a role in the changeable weather conditions and the long Belgium track. So as I said, Belgium track is long. It's got fast and medium speed turns, though. And that should actually suit the McLaren quite well, because they perform very well at Silverstone. It's not the same type of circuit, but those fast and medium turns worked well for the McLaren at Silverstone. So I anticipate that it's going to work well for them here in Belgium and Spa as well. So if you're going to go with anyone for a long shot, I would go for Norris on the podium with Hamilton in a fight to hold on to third. So showing this week, those driver parlays, you might want to take a look at Verstappen and Norris, both with the top 6 finish, as well as possibly Verstappen and Hamilton. You can also probably take the same for the podium, if I'm quite honest with you. The interloper right there, again, just keep in mind Sergio Perez. Take a look at what he's able to do for qualifying. Take a look at what he's able to do in Saturday's sprint race, and then I think you'll have a really good idea of what he's going to be capable of on Sunday. So after this week, we have a 4-week break. All the shops are closed. No racing, no wind tunnel testing, no testing at all. Nobody's allowed in the buildings. No work can be done. But there is a long gap for everybody to be catching up with Red Bull and Max Verstappen. So when they are on their cruise, sipping margaritas, they're going to be thinking about what they can do when they get back on track to be able to catch up to him and Red Bull and see if they can't turn this thing around when we return to Netherlands the last weekend in August. So that's it. As a wrap up, enjoy the Belgian Grand Prix. It looks like it's going to be another Max Verstappen Red Bull show. It's going to have a little bit of excitement given that he has that 5-place grid penalty. But if you're looking for a long shot, check out Lewis Hamilton and probably an even more heavily weighted Lando Norris. I think those are going to be your best bets. So again, I am CJ Radune here at the Prime Sports Network from rotowire.com. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos all season long, including NASCAR, IndyCar, and of course, Formula One. You can access my column by clicking the link in the description of this video. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know what is on your mind over this summer break. And until next time, keep it out of the fence.